Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. So, here we're going to talk about our English word form topic. All right. So, there is one thing that we need to take into consideration before we begin this presentation, and that is to pay a lot of attention because you're going to need this topic for your first partial project and also for the final exam that you guys are going to do. All right. If you have any questions, even after listening to the full video and the full explanation, make sure that you visit me at my tutoring sessions at 2 p.m. Or you can also engage me in our sessions, all right, in our live sessions. But never, under any circumstances, have any doubts, all right? Do not leave with any doubts. Make sure you talk to me, and I'll make sure that I will do my best for you guys to understand the topic, all right? So, without any further ado, let's start this topic. So, like you guys already saw, we're talking about English word forms. So, first, we must identify these next words. All right. So, what are these? I'll give you some time to pause the video and answer if you want to. So, we have all of these eight different types of words: adjectives, conjunctions, interjections, prepositions, etc. So, some of you might have already identified them and given a positive answer. So, here we go. These are parts of speech, right? So all of these are things that you probably already saw or that you have knowledge of. Some are more basic than others, or at least the usage of them are a little bit more basic than others. And from here, if you have any problem of how do I use one of them, read this part right there because it's going to tell you what you use each one for. All right. So if you struggle with any of these, make sure that you take your time with this chart and you actually read into it and check some of the examples out. All right. For us, for our purposes, we're only going to focus on word forms like we mentioned. So we only focus on four. Which are these four? Well, we focus on verbs, adverbs, nouns, and adjectives. These are the word forms. All right. So before we begin with all this information, because you guys are going to see a lot of information on the screen, it might be a little bit overwhelming. Just remember that we do not need to memorize all of these, okay? Because I'm going to show you a lot of different suffixes. You do not need to memorize them. The only thing is for you guys to be able to see how words can change and have different forms. This is just educational in the sense that you guys are aware of how words can be modified depending on the situation and the need of the person that is building the sentence. Okay, so here we go. This is in the case of nouns. So when we're talking about nouns, we want to focus on some endings, okay, some suffixes. Endings are suffixes. So here we go. We have one very common verb, which is teach, right? So to that verb, we add the ending er, and now it becomes a person that does this action, right? A person that teaches. What do we call him? We call him a teacher. And there we go. There we go. There we have it. So you just saw how we grabbed a verb and we added an ending that fits with this verb, and we changed it into a noun. So now it is not a verb anymore. Now it is a noun. Now I can use it as a subject. I can use it as an object. I can say the teacher teaches a magnificent class, right? So we're using it as a noun, and in that same sentence, we're also using the same word form for a verb also. All right, and we can go with another one that's not on the list. Let's go with the verb paint. Paint is a verb and it's also a noun. But in this case, if I want to add the same ending, er, because I want to talk about the person that performs this action, somebody that paints, I'm going to grab the ending er, I'm going to change it into painter, right? So now I have the person that performs this action, somebody that paints. Mm, all right, so let's focus on another one, a different word, because we were using verbs. Let's focus a little bit on an adjective. An adjective that's very, very common. It's very simple for everybody, and that is sad. So sad is an adjective, like I just mentioned. So I can say the sad girl is crying in the corner, right? But what happens if I want to use this word, this sad word, if I want to use it as a noun? Well, I can add this nes ending, and I can change the word from sad into sadness. All right, so now it's talking about related to quality, state, or condition, right? So in this case, it's the state of being sad. So we're talking about the sadness as a noun. And I can say, in an example, the sadness was overwhelming, right? So that's using the same word, but in a different form. All right. So this is just some, these are just some examples. Like I mentioned, you do not have to memorize all of these. This is just so you get an idea of how we can change words into, well, from one form to a different form. All right. So we continue with verb endings. So some of the common ones that we know are the ed endings, which if we add ed to a verb, we make it into past tense, right? But I don't know if you knew this one, fy. If we have the word beauty, which is a noun, her beauty was astonishing. That's a noun, beauty. But I want to make it into a verb, and this verb would mean to cause somebody to be beautiful. Now it's going to look something like beautify, right? And there you can see the ending fy, to cause somebody to be beautiful. I beautified my mom for her wedding, right? Maybe it sounds a little bit weird to you guys because it's not not that common of a verb. It's not a verb that you would find in everyday conversation, at least for us. But it is a verb nonetheless. It does exist. Here we have another one, which is liquefy, right? To make something liquid, liquefy. So that's another example. So like I mentioned, this is again, do not memorize all of these. Just notice how we can change different words from one form to another. For adjectives, for example, we have the verb flex, just flex. If I say I'm gonna flex on my haters, or if I say I'm gonna flex my muscles, that is a verb, right? That's an action. But what if I add the ending ible? Now we changed it from a verb into an adjective, flexible. The flexible dancer was amazing last night, right? So now we changed it into an adjective. So now you get more of the idea of how things are changing. Sorry, of how things are changing. We have this last one, which is full FUL. And this is exactly what it says right there. It's full of, or it's characterized by, right? So we have beautiful, something that's full of beauty. Bountiful, something that's full of bounty. It's characterized by bounty. If we have the word stress and we add FUL, now we change it into an adjective. Now it's stressful, something that is full of stress. It's characterized by stress. These classes are very stressful, teacher. So there we go. We changed it into an adjective. Now we can describe the classes, right? We can describe the noun. All right. So we continue. This is our last one. For this adverb example, the endings that we're going to focus on are ly. Okay. And this works for adjective. If we grab an adjective and we add ly to most of them, they're going to work like this. So we have beautiful to some of them, sorry. Beautiful, and we add ly at the end, we change it to beautifully. Competitive, we add ly, we change it to competitively. Creative, creatively, and so on, right? We have a lot that you can see right there. The one that we saw before, sad, sadly, right there. So you get the idea, right? We're grabbing adjectives and we're changing them to adverbs, right? So there we can see the ending that we use. Now it's important to notice that not every adverb ends in ly. And I'll give you a very basic example because this is something that you guys see in the beginning levels of English when you're in any course that you might have taken. So you guys might remember something that we call adverbs of frequency, right? And we have some of them there that do not end in ly. And I'm talking about always, never, sometimes, seldom. So those do not end in ly, right? So those are some examples of adverbs that exist and do not end in ly. Very another example of adverbs. So they do not all end in ly. All right, this is just something to keep in mind. Remember that this is just showing you guys how we can add something and modify one word from one kind or one form to another form. All right, so it's very important to always keep that in consideration. So here in this chart, you might have already seen that we have all of the four categories that we were talking about, all of the four forms: nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So maybe by looking at this, you might assume that all words have all four forms, but that is incorrect. All right, this is, well, first off, all of this, we know it as a family, right? Because they're all the same word, but in different forms. However, not all of them have all four forms. Some of them have two, some of them have three, some of them do have four, etc. Right? So I want you guys to analyze more examples in the PDF that I'm going to leave on Blackboard. All right, it's going to be located in the same spot as this video. So you can download that PDF and observe all of the different examples that are there. And you can see that some of them do have two, some have three, some have four. And this is just, again, so you guys know that some of them can have four, some of them can have three, and it's okay. All right, not all of them are gonna work in the same way. By this, I do want to backtrack a little bit. And here in all of the endings that we saw, they do not apply to all words. All right. I cannot grab any verb and add IBLE like I did with flexible and change it into an adjective. Okay. They do not fit with every single one. All right. So again, this is not for you to memorize these endings. Like I mentioned, this is just so you get an idea of how things work. If you do memorize some, maybe you don't understand the word. Like for example, if I memorize FUL and I know that, okay, it means full of or characterized by, and I see a word that I've never seen before, like let's imagine it's beautiful, right? I've never seen that word before, but now that I know that FUL means that it's full of, and beauty, well, it's almost the same word, right? As beauty, it's almost spelled the same. So I would assume that something is full of beauty. So you can sometimes get the meaning from that. All right. Here are some examples that we did in the classroom. This is what you would find in or in our exam that has to do with word forms. I'm going to give you some options, and you have to determine which word would work best. I have a sharp, pain, or painful in my butt from sitting so much. All right. So I invite you to take your time with this presentation and actually go through all of the exercises, which are 6. And then we have 16 sentences over here. These we did work in class. So I also invite you to complete these and just work on your word forms. All right. You just have to identify which word form do I need? Do I need an adjective, a noun, a verb, or an adverb? All right. So that was it from me, guys. I hope you understood the topic. Like I mentioned, this is just so you guys get an idea of how word forms can change from one to another. And basically just know that they exist. That is the main focus of this presentation because we're going to apply it in our class. All right, guys. So hope you guys have a great day. Like I mentioned, if you have any further questions or comments, make sure you attend our tutoring session at 2 p.m. And I'll be more than happy to help you out with either exercises or just explanations. All right. So again, this was your teacher. I'll see you next time and have a wonderful, wonderful day. See you. Peace.